Hello and welcome to the big picture. The Biotechnology Regulatory Authority of India bill introduced in the Lok Sabha in the last session of Parliament in April is aimed at promoting safe use of modern biotechnology by enhancing its effectiveness and efficiency of the regulatory procedures. The bill, however, has raised a lot of opposition on many counts as the anti-genetically modified organism activists have raised some serious objections to the provisions in the bill. They have fundamental objection to the basic intent of the bill as it aims to promote the modern biotechnology of GM crops instead of adopting a precautionary approach. There are also serious concerns raised about the killing of the diversity of seeds and also health issues. On the other hand, biotechnology industry, which includes not just agri-biotech, but also biopharma, bioindustrial, bioinformatics, among others, are growing rapidly with a 18.5% registered growth last year, with the total size at $4.3 billion. Incidentally, the bio-agri segment has had the highest growth with 23% registered last year. In the light of this, there is no doubt that an effective regulator has become necessary. However, the question is how to ensure that proper safeguards are provided in this bill to address the serious concerns expressed in many quarters. Today, we will confine our discussion to the agri-biotech industry, which affects the humans and also the animals directly, and see what is necessary to address the concerns expressed. To discuss this, I have with me Professor Deepak Pental, a professor of genetics and former Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, Devinder Sharma, food policy analyst, Dr. Renu Swarup, advisor, Department of Biotechnology in the Ministry of Science and Technology, Rajesh Krishnan, a senior campaigner at the Greenpeace, and Krishan Chaudhary, President Bharat, Krishak, Samaj. Welcome to all of you. I would like to come to you first, Professor Pental. There is no doubt that this such a regulatory authority is very necessary. But do you accept that that means that these genetically modified foods have become inevitable in this country?
Well, one of the things is that, as you have said, it's very important that this bill goes through, and of course people can look at it, and those who are critical of it can put in their points. Those who have been asking for this kind of body for a very long time, their input should be also taken, and I hope all of that will be considered. It was very necessary, and I'm glad that the minister has taken the initiative of introducing the bill. As far as genetically modified crops is concerned, I think it's inevitable. It is important for the country. It is necessary, and I think all those who are opposing it, we should be very clear now whether they are opposing it for the reason that there is some fear about them. In that case, we have to take care of it, or they are opposing it for ideological reasons. You know, some people don't like transnationals. Some people believe that our agriculture will be held hostage by foreign companies because they have real good hold on these technologies. There's no doubt about that. Some people believe because some of the advanced countries like European countries are not taking up these technologies, so we should follow these people rather than the American continent or Australia or so on. So people may have very deep-seated ideological reasons. Some people like to have very simple life. They don't want new technologies to come in. All new technologies have been opposed one time or the other globally.
But you think that the need for genetically modified crops and the food has become a necessity now?
Oh, absolutely.
It's become a necessity.
Absolutely, and I can give you some examples also.
Yeah, please, quickly.
Well, you know, we produced a hybrid in mustard in 2002, which yields about 20 to 30% more. Now, a parallel technology in Canada, 90% of their area is under that the transgenic technology, and they are exporting edible oils, canola oil, to the whole world, including those countries which do not grow transgenic crops. But we are waiting, and our farmers are not benefiting. I don't want to give this. I didn't give this example to make a grandiose statement about my own research. But I think it is time where we throw the examples to the public and say what is wrong with it.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Devinder. Two things. No, I want you to. Is the opposition to this in this country more ideological than what he says as, the actual reasons, whatever are the scientific reasons?
Well, if you talk about this, I think the support for this kind of a technology is also ideological. Let's be very clear, only a section of the people who graduate from that kind of a system, would always accept it. Very few people would stand up and question the technology. This mindset is there. The technology is the only way forward. But the point I think more important is that when do we learn from the disaster that we are witnessing in agriculture? For the last 40, 50 years after Green Revolution, if 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide, if 40% farmers want to quit agriculture, if your soils have got poisoned, if your environment is contaminated, if your entire food chain is now contaminated, when do we draw a lesson that we need to give to the society a kind of a safe food which does not create problem, which does not lead to the environmental degradation, which does not lead to the monopolization of agriculture in a manner that some people, the big people becoming big, rich, and the poor people left behind like this Green Revolution did. Now, where do we try to move towards agriculture which does not lead to climate change?
This is not an ideological thing. When you're saying all these things, when you're talking of food contamination, we're talking of suicide and things. These are not ideological. These are
all facts. They're on the table.
Yes.
Now, if you can deny it, I don't know how you will justify that. But the fact of the matter is, they're all there for everyone to see. Why do we turn our eyes from that? Why can't we bring in a kind of agriculture where no farmer commits suicides, where fertilizers do not destroy the soil, where there's no contamination taking place in the environment, where farmers' income goes up? Does anybody have any objection to this kind of agriculture?
Okay. I want to bring in Renu, Swarup in this. He has made his point very clear. All these problems are there. Is there any objection to bringing this kind of a thing? Is genetically modified food the only way out? He's talking of, the kind of contamination which has taken place, all those things which he has said.
Let me say one thing first. Science itself means evolution. As you move into science, you have to look at evolving technologies. What science was 50 years back, we really cannot go with the same technologies. Otherwise, we don't need science. You have to bring in new technological inputs. Whatever has been
bringing new technology for the sake of it?
No. Bringing new technology for the development of the nation, for the development of humanity, for developing technologies which would serve the global community as a whole, serve our planet. Every scientist who works in it also works with that responsibility and takes that up as one of their own mandate to take it forward. Talking about the various issues that have been raised regarding pesticides and getting in healthy crops, getting in safe food, the technologies which we look at, the technologies that we develop actually address these issues. We do not really have today any of the genetically modified crops in our own country to be able to say whether that data was against what has been currently said. The data which is available with us globally, we have scientific facts which prove that has not really caused various harm. Whatever we look at, whatever decisions we take have to be scientifically
So what you're trying to say is, let us have this first
and
then see.
No, let us have the science on it. Let us have the science on it. Let us have scientific evidence. Any technology that gets brought out into the system must have a scientific evidence to prove whether it's right or it's wrong. And probably the bill, what it is introducing through this Biotech Regulatory Authority, is just arriving at that. And I think this is the right time for us to take this forward, to set up such a regulatory authority. The purpose of the regulatory authority is to bring in exactly what is being said. A scientific, proper assessment of what is the technology that needs to move forward, a transparent system, and then seeing whether it's right or wrong.
We'll come to the provisions of the bill. Krishan Chaudhary, give us a chance, give the technology a chance. Before that, why are you being so alarmist?
We have given a chance in BT cotton crops, and we have seen the example what's happening. Condition has reached here that the Maharashtra Agriculture Minister is condemning the technology today. He accepts the reality. When only 35% area of agriculture is irrigated, how you can discuss about the GM crops in India? It's not feasible, it's not suitable. And already we have Environment Protection Act. What will happen when the Cartagena Protocol to UN system? It means we have no act. And in that all microorganisms, GM technology, all viruses, that covers all. It's not to control the biotechnology, but it's to decontrol the biotechnology. This bill it's a clear trap. And it's not for farmers, madam. You have to accept the reality. It's for the corporate of the multinational corporations. Openly, I have to say, not for Indian corporations.
That is exactly, Rajesh.
And one thing.
Yes.
It's a design to dismantle the existing biosafety regulations. We have genetic engineering approval committee. In that committee, from Department of Biotechnology representation, ICR representation, ICMR representation, and industrial representation, every representation is there. State committee is there to inspect, to check and balance the things. At district level committee, you are going to remove all the things for the corporations to surrender the seed security, all under intellectual property regime. What do you want? To surrender the food security of this country?
Dr. Pental.
It's not possible for country.
Isn't this all ideological positioning? Where is the scientific evidence? I would like to point out that Dr. Devinder Sharma, and he has done it in the past also, has said all kind of things about the Green Revolution. Now, just go into the scenario, what would have happened if the Green Revolution would not have occurred? Look at how many people died in China because Chinese were not prepared to take food grain from US. And we had to surrender our sovereignty in a way and pander to American requirements by asking grain from them. And all these ills which he has spoken about are lying somewhere else. They are not lying with GM.
Where are they lying?
Oh, they are lying with general. For example, we don't have the latest pesticides in the country because we cannot afford. If we don't want BT, we will have to do front-ranking research in agrochemicals in the country. You look at how much agrochemicals European agriculture is using. Huge amount. I cannot give you the data,
Rajesh,
but I will be willing to come any other day.
Sir, I'll come back.
Also.
Rajesh, it's an ideologically based. That is the charge which Dr. Pental is making. That these are all ideologically based opposition and not scientific opposition.
I'm quite happy that the speakers before me, be it Dr. Pental or Dr. Swarup, wanted to talk of science and the evolution of science. And if there is one technology in agriculture which is exactly the opposite of what science talks about, is that of transgenics. If you look at the evolution of science behind transgenics, we started off by saying that there is this one gene, one protein hypothesis and all. And over time, that hypothesis itself has been proven wrong by geneticists themselves. This technology is based
not Dr. Pental.
No, he himself is a geneticist. He himself is a geneticist who I am sure agrees to that. And now time has come when people say that one gene, one protein hypothesis was something which was not right. There are various genes which work together to form one protein, or various proteins are produced by a single gene. So the technology is fundamental. The science behind that technology has evolved, and this technology is still stuck there. And it is this technology that companies want to promote in India. Secondly, Dr. Swarup was talking about facts. Where is the facts about problems with this technology? Madam, there has been...
No, that's not exactly what she's saying.
Yeah.
She's saying that we are not allowing it to happen here. Of course,
No.
Krishnan Chaudhary says BT cotton is an example.
But for science, political boundaries doesn't matter. If you find that there is a problem in US, if you have a GM crop which creates problems for human health there, it's the same impact you will see in...
Dr. Swarup, do you agree that science doesn't have boundaries?
Just to add to that, to bring numbers here, there has at least been 400 plus studies on various impacts of GMOs, be it on health, environment, and other things. And if you are ready to face that fact, I think we can say that let's have a scientific debate. Let's start a scientific debate.
Yeah, the first question that comes up off and on is that we are not allowing science to operate, and also the debate is not scientific. I can give a complete message here that we are open to a scientific debate. We are not open to an industry debate. Now, the scientific community which supports this actually quotes from the industry data. I have seen the Department of Biotechnology always quoting ISAAA studies. They don't have their own studies. They always quote ISAAA studies, then tell us that we are not talking about science. When we talk about science, they don't want to talk about it. They turn away from it. And we are saying, let's have a debate, open debate about science. Why do you hide behind this cloak that, we are not talking science? We are willing to talk about science. Let's talk about science. They don't want to talk about it, A. Now, B, the question of green revolution. We have a habit in this nation, we have a habit of living in the past. The remarkable job green revolution did at one time, we all appreciate that. But over the 40 years, damage has been done. It is very clear. The dams at one time were appreciated in the big dams. Now everyone is saying we don't require dams. Nuclear plants at one time were appreciated. Now we are saying we don't require dams, nuclear plants also. So I think green revolution, let's be very clear. The reasons lie there. The question of pesticides. The new pesticide that America is now trying to do, Roundup and look at it, are so dangerous. There are a number of studies which Indian scientists don't want to talk about it. The tragedy of Indian scientists is...
Why do you not want to talk about it?
They only do exactly what the American scientists want to talk about. They cannot talk about Indian science. That's the problem with them.
This is a way of stalling, and my friends and many others, NGOs, have succeeded in this to a remarkable degree. Spread fear. Say that there is scientific report. Whose scientific reports?
No, but you have to answer his charge that the scientists are all constantly referring to the industry data and not the scientific data.
My own research, and I'm going to quote it now, my own research is in the public domain, funded by public. All the data is there, and as I mentioned to you, for last 15 years, Canada is growing that kind of canola crop, and nothing has happened around the world. The Japanese are consuming it, the Europeans are consuming it, and we in our country,
no, but this is very simple,
please, we in our country are importing 56,000 crore worth of edible oils every year. So what chance we are giving to our farmers?
Let me answer that. Now this is again...
let Krishan answer that. I'll come back.
Japan have refused just now due to cross-pollination of wheat. And you will surprise. GM corn, 3 shipments have destroyed by China just in the last week of the June. And 115 kg of seed of GM corn were burnt by the government of China itself now. They agreed that it's a very only Monsanto funded research should be accepted only.
Devinder.
Yeah. See, the question of the 56,000 rupees. Now, this question of 56,000 rupees crore import of edible oil, I think is very interesting, should be clarified. Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister of this country. The first thing he did was, he said, why are we importing? The third biggest import at that time was edible oils, 15,000 crores at that particular time, I remember in the 80s. He said, let us start oil seed technology mission.
Right.
We did that. In 10 years' time, in 93, 94, 97% of country's requirement was being produced within the country. Okay, we had 300% duties at that time. We started reducing the duties. Today, the duties are almost zero. As a result of which 56,000 crores of edible oil import is coming in. The question important is, if we were to raise our duties, we would have stopped that import and the benefit should have gone to Indian farmers. It is not because of technology lapse. This is where the scientists are making use of a wrong example to hoodwink the countries by saying, it's because of technology gap. It is not because of technology gap. You are misleading the country by saying that. I'm sorry.
I would comment on what Professor Pental said first, and I think that's a very important fact, that when we talk about science that is available and the facts that are available, we may be selectively, groups within the country may be looking at selective data which is coming in from the US, etc., but there is sufficient amount of public sector research data which is available in the public domain. This is all papers which are brought out by the agriculture universities, by our public sector scientists on all the crops that we are currently working on GM technology. I think that data needs to be looked at whatever level it is, whether it's at the lab level. We have all the biosafety data, we have data which is available in the limited field trials. That data is available, and that's all public sector data by public sector scientists.
Rajesh, why? Rajesh, this public sector data. Have you perused those data?
No, that's what I wanted to ask. I haven't seen one, so I would really like to know one biosafety study that you would have done, public sector scientists have done on these things, because even if you look at the earlier examples of BT cotton or BT brinjal or now BT GM corn which Monsanto is bringing,
yes,
all those studies are being done by developers. Biosafety studies, I don't see public sector.
Pental's data.
No, I don't.
I mean, you wanted one. You have it sitting next to you. I'll look at Professor Pental's data. It's already
which biosafety data are you talking about? Where is it in the public domain?
Look,
If
certain groups selectively quote data, if certain groups continuously spread fear about new technologies, I think it's going to do great harm to the country, and we are doing it already. Nobody's point is, and it's not my point also, that only biotechnology is the panacea and nothing else matters in agriculture. Policy is important, soil health is important, availability of water, as my colleague is saying, is important. Without that, without protective irrigation, what will you grow? But we all know how difficult and time-consuming plant breeding processes are. Do we want to give our agriculture a chance or not
Okay,
by
now
putting
let's
these technologies in the field or not? That is the question.
Professor Pental, let me come to the bill itself. The fear of the argument is that this bill is actually being done, as Krishan also was pointing out, that to protect the multinationals. In fact, there is a bill which has been brought about to protect the multinationals, like
It's
Monsanto.
freeing them of court and democratic control over our...
How do you react to this? Both of you, I want both of you to react.
I would personally like to see very strong S&T in my country, because no country has made it big and has become prosperous without science and technology.
No.
Take it from me. Give me one example of any country doing well without science and technology.
Science
So
and
I
technology
think-
for the benefit of humanity.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But
And-
their argument is that it is against humanity.
No, but listen, in the United States and in some of these developed countries, they have public research doing more upstream work and technology development by the industry.
Yes.
Now, if you want to do in the public sector and get these technologies cheaper to the farmer, you have to have a different model than the US model. That I agree. That model is government's job to put it through.
Yes, Krishan.
ICR from last 20 years, they have not generated any wheat variety. They are not working properly on paddy. They are working only on biotechnology. Country needs, Dr. Pental, farmer-centric agriculture model,
agree.
not corporate agriculture model. Corporate agriculture model, we have seen the result in Andhra Pradesh, in Tamil Nadu, now including
Dr.
in
Renu,
Punjab.
this is a serious charge which is made.
Listen.
One second, Krishnan, that this is a corporate model. This bill is all.
Yes.
In fact, the charge is that this bill is a corporate, bill to aim to protect the corporates.
Let me explain the bill to him. I mean, I think it's important and everyone must have read the bill, and even
Yes.
the bill, the way it has been introduced in the parliament. What has been talked about is, and we always say that when you need to bring in any new technology or any new science and technology, as Professor Pental rightly said, needs to flourish in the country, you need science, you need the people, you need the infrastructure, and you need a strong regulation. That regulation is for the science to move out. Our scientists in the country need the regulations for their own products to move out. Why do we look at whether it is a corporate? How would you say it's a corporate? What is a Biotech Regulatory Authority bill looking at? It's basically bringing out a very sound, robust system which is transparent. It has the best of competence.
The charge is not transparent.
No, but the transparency.
Devinder, why is it not transparent?
See, let's be very clear. This bill has been prepared by a handful of people. The nation has not discussed the bill, and they are saying it is transparent. It has been drafted, I can tell you, by the companies. We know what is there happening. It has been drafted. I call it, in America, they've got another bill. It is called Monsanto Protection Act.
Right.
This actually, the BRI bill actually is a Monsanto Promotion Act. All that they are trying to do, Monsanto is just a symbol, is promoting the corporate agenda. Now, why are they worried? They are taking away the rights of the state governments not to say anything for the trials.
That's
why?
an important. That's
Why?
an important
Why?
charge, Dr.
Why?
Pental.
Why?
No, one second.
See,
One
science
second,
is
Dr.
people
Pental.
based. We don't want it.
No,
Who are you?
This
the
point he
bill
has
been
made
read?
about state governments being kept out of it. That this regulator will deal with
You
everything.
see, when the trials are done,
Seven states so far have said that we don't want
when the
GM trials.
when the trials are done for anything in the ICR system, the trials are not informed to anybody. These are confined trials. After that, the state has the right to introduce that variety or not.
No, but
but
look
I
at
want to
America.
make a point.
Yes.
I want to make a point. I think what our colleagues who do not support this technology at all should make it very clear to the nation that are they anti-transnational or they are refusing to accept this technology as a fundamental view.
I can answer that.
They must separate the two things.
I can answer
because
that.
they're muddying the waters.
Yeah.
Okay, let
I
him
will
answer. Let
that.
him answer.
See,
that.
after 40 years of Green Revolution, 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide. I want to know why the scientists of India do not take responsibility for that suicide.
why?
When will they?
This is
They have to
social
take
issue.
responsibility. They are
This is social
responsible for
issue.
it. It is
One
technology
second.
which has done the
Economic
damage.
No, one second,
And
one
if you
second.
take the
One second.
responsibility,
No,
you
one
take the
second.
responsibility
What are
now,
you
you
talking
take the
about?
responsibility for
Devinder,
that.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Devinder, 1 minute.
One question.
One second. Dr. Pental and Renu, Swarup. The farmers' suicides and things like that is a social issue. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
It is nothing to do with.
No, if you give them better technology, if you give them water for irrigating their soils, if you monitor their soil health properly, the government can do a lot. I agree.
Krishan,
Dr. Pental,
Dr.
what
quickly.
happened in oil scheme? The hydrocarbon regulator was involved in that matter.
No, forget all that. Come back
We should not surrender for single regulatory body. Already we have genetic engineering approval committee.
One second,
and
yes,
we
Renu.
cannot surrender about the civil law.
Okay, one second.
the
We're
I
running.
think it's important to see the bill. If you look at it, in which manner is it said that the state is being removed? There are
Chapter
state.
2,
You
expediency
please
clause.
look at the
Chapter 2,
clause
yeah.
35, which clearly says you
yeah.
have a state biotechnology regulatory committee.
What is the decision
What
making
is
power of
that?
that?
Please
Decision making power of that
Please
committee?
understand.
No interference.
Please
That will be
understand.
only
Yeah,
It's an advisory body
And
that
one
has
thing-
no role in
Yeah.
decision making.
If
These
anybody
are
will
only
raise the
for
question,
trials.
he will
This is
get
only for
punishment
trials.
of 5 lakhs.
An
and the-
environmental
and the
release.
One second, one
will
after
have
the
to be
other.
2 lakhs.
No,
Can
we
you-
will.
There is a-
Yes,
there is a-
yes,
there
yes.
is a-
One second,
Decision-making
Renu.
for a
Let
country.
Rajesh, quickly,
I
Rajesh.
think there is a serious,
can you
there is a
decentralize the
serious
decision-making for a-
laxity in the way we look at this technology. This technology is just not like any other technology. This is a living technology. You let it out for confined trials or whatever you call it, experiments, they contaminate. You have seen it in US in the past, you have seen it in India with BT cotton, and you have seen it across the world.
Wheat
So-
thing, US wheat.
Yeah,
Now we know it.
just
The
a
trial
month
ended
ago.
in 2004.
Just a month ago.
So,
The trial ended in 2004.
Devinder, one second. Devinder, the opposition, your opposition is basically to the technology itself. You don't want the technology in this country. But the fact of the matter is that it has entered this country or it's entering the country. How do we ensure that adequate safeguard? That isn't that the
Girish,
question today?
Girish, I am for technology.
Yes.
I am also technologist by training. Now, let me tell you one thing. Why is technology only talked about when it is branded by Monsanto or Syngenta? Because, hold on.
Yes.
Now, in Andhra Pradesh, today 10 million farmers in 10 million acres are growing without pesticides, half of them without fertilizer, all crops, and the productivity is going up. The environment has become much cleaner. No suicides. Is that not technology?
Dr.
Why
Pental,
doesn't
no,
the
we
scientist
completely
take
run
that?
out of time. Dr. Pental, very quickly, last word to you.
No, I think this body should be made and that their mandate should be to ensure that the products are biosafe. Environmental issue is highly exaggerated. We will have to discuss it another day because this body which is being thought of must make sure that nothing which is toxic or allergenic escapes their scrutiny. And secondly, if we are that passionate about transnationals not taking away our agriculture, we should improve our own standards of
That's
research
your
in
job
the
to do it.
country.
You were the vice
No,
chancellor.
what
You
do
have to
mean
do
by
it, not
vice
me.
chancellor doesn't
No, you have to
okay?
do
What
it.
is it?
Yeah,
What is
it is
this?
you people like you
What
have
is
to do
this?
it.
There
Yeah,
is-
don't
No,
blame
no,
us.
we will. I think there is scope for
Scientists
other.
do
You
research,
have to
not
do it,
vice
not us.
There is
chancellors.
scope for other scope for other few discussions on this. On that note, on what Dr. Pental said, we'll have to end this program. This is a issue which has raised a lot of passions in this country, and obviously this is not going to end. A lot of it has to be answered by the government also, and when this bill comes up in Parliament, I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussion. Thanks to all my guests, Professor Deepak Pental, Renu Swarup, Krishan Chaudhary, Rajesh, Krishnan and Devinder Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, Big Picture, same time tomorrow.